into our talk. And I actually will record the intro on my own afterwards. So we'll just jump in and I'll start asking you questions. But I decided to create Journey to Glow because about 1.5 years ago, after having rosacea for 10 years, and realizing, oh my God, like, how does this happen? And ignoring it really for 10 years. I got on the path to educate myself and to surround myself with people who could help me heal from the inside out. So I didn't want to do the traditional medicine, the antibiotic. I'm such a rebellious anti-traditional. I think I really want to make a stand for holistic healing and natural oils and herbs and I've always been very interested in Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and yoga and meditation. It's always been part of my life for forever. Mm-hmm. And then on my journey to try to heal rosacea, I started the journey with the mindset of just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Help me get rid of this thing. Let's get this done. Which is very much my personality. That can be very much, okay, let's get it done, go. Right. But nothing coming from one person was really working. I felt very quickly that my naturopath, my functional medicine doctor, my osteopath, my holistic esthetician were all bringing me different pieces. But then I realized that I was going to be the one who needed to put the pieces together in terms of what works for me, and that I was also going to have to take the healing into my own hands, to not expect, because I had that attitude, just tell me what to do, right? Like that gesture, if people are watching on video, like I'm giving my power away, and it wasn't working. And then part of that, through my journey, changing my diet and just getting tested for hormones and heavy metal in my blood. And I spent a lot of money trying to find the cause. And then realizing that there's different causes for me. And it's going to be also, rosacea is complex. It's never the same cause for everyone. And so the healing solution will never be the same for anyone also. So then fast forward to this summer, and I realized that it's been such an enriching journey. And because I could say challenging, but I choose to say enriching, and I choose to make it one where I get to nourish my mind, body, and soul, open my mind. Every day, I want to open my mind to what is truly possible for me in terms of healing. And that's what I do as a coach also with my clients. So now I get to do it for myself. I get to stay in that energy of possibility and open-mindedness and curiosity and joy and self-love. I've had moments of looking in the mirror that I noticed how mean I was towards myself by looking at my skin, and then realizing, oh no, wait, I'm not having this kind of conversation in my head. I have to bring the self-love and the acceptance piece. And so that opened a whole other door I hadn't gone through in 1.5 years, which is looking inside of myself and claiming the pieces that need to be healed, something that I think I had been ignoring for the longest time. And now I think it's a deeper conversation. It's a deeper journey of healing. So that's where I'm at with that. And then the idea popped up that there are so many women. In my research, I realized that there are over 16 million people that have rosacea just in North America. And I started to do research in terms of blogs and on YouTube, and I was reading people's comments, and so many women are depressed. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to turn to. They're not listening to their intuition. They're giving their power away to their doctors. They're having really adverse effect to chemicals that their doctors are giving them. I'm part of groups on Facebook, and the constant stream of comments is that the chemical ointments that they're giving them and the antibiotics are doing more damage. And I'm thinking, ladies, come on over to Journey to Glow, because I want to create this space where we're going to explore Chinese medicine, essential oils, meditation, stress. So that's the space that I wanted to create for Journey to Glow. And then the podcast is where we get to explore your view on this, Tiffany, and invite people to have an open mind so that they can have an insight.
Beautiful. I love the name too, Journey to Glow. So what would you like for me to speak first, just responding to what you were just speaking of?
Sure, let's do that. And then I have many questions of things we can explore together.
Okay. And do you want me to spend any time introducing myself, or is that something where you can add a bio, or?
Actually, let's start with that. Let's start by introducing yourself.
Okay. So I loved being able to hear your story first, and also that you chose the word enriching for the journey, because it is challenging, and it's enriching through the challenge, right? And oftentimes, so many times I see when I'm working with people, because I've been working one-on-one with people in a health context for 22 years now. And you really see how it's often through people having health challenges that they end up coming into their power, and that they end up kind of carving out that groove that connects them to their intuition that takes them down and in, and their intuition that comes from the bones up, both directions. And ultimately, the most empowering way to be with all of these different holistic modalities would be, we find people that we trust, the information that we trust, we learn from them, but then we take that material inside, whatever the information is, and then we have to decide what is best for us at the time. Because like you said, this is a complex condition. Rosacea is a very complex condition, and it needs a complex treatment, but that doesn't mean it has to be an overwhelming and disempowering treatment. And just in terms of my own journey, I always knew that I wanted to help people, and I was good at science. And so I just thought, well, I'd go to medical school, Western medical school. So I studied pre-med in undergrad. And then I worked in doctor's offices my junior and senior year, because that's what you do when you want to go to medical school. And I saw the system, that you had 15 minutes with a patient, and that ultimately the goal was to give them a pill to match their symptoms. And I just thought, oh gosh, this is not what I want to do. And so then I learned about naturopathic medicine, came to Bastyr, which is in Seattle, outside Seattle. And I studied naturopathic medicine, and that it was just like regular medical school the first year. I mean, I had 28 credits. I was working 25 hours a week, and I didn't have very good coping skills in my life. And I ended up really, really ill starting age 23. It started with severe insomnia. And then my skin, everywhere that I touched on my skin, I would feel bumps. I had bumps all over my back. My weight would fluctuate by 20 pounds, just up and down, sometimes over the course of 6 weeks. I was diagnosed severe anxiety. One doctor wanted to diagnose me bipolar, which runs in my family. So I thought, well, that probably fits. I had severe insomnia. I was literally not sleeping all night long. I was drinking alcohol at night to try and cope and try to help me sleep. And I had irritable bowel syndrome. I'm just thinking of all my diagnoses. Irritable bowel syndrome, because these are the diagnoses that we give for catch-all issues that we don't know what to do with. And so I kept going to the naturopaths to get treatment, and they would say, take this supplement, do this detox. I did colonics, I did all kinds of detoxes, I did elimination diets. And with each thing I learned a little something, but there was nothing, it still felt like there was something at the core that wasn't being addressed. And as much as I love, excuse me, as much as I love naturopathic medicine, it still was coming from the paradigm of sort of breaking me into my parts, and then, you know, treating this part with this herb and treating this part with this supplement. And I could feel how there was some other way of being that would make sense, but I didn't know what that was. And so finally the naturopathic department, they said, go see the Chinese medicine department. We don't know what to do with you anymore. And so I went to see the Chinese medicine department, and I had my first acupuncture session, and they were speaking to me about my liver, I remember. And they said, you know, your liver doesn't just have a physiological function, it has an emotional function. It governs the emotion anger and all of the permutations of anger, how anger gets stuck, or when we collapse, like when we don't stand up for ourselves. That's also a function of the liver and that dynamic of anger. And when they were speaking to me in that way, it's like when you find someone articulating something that you know in your bones is true, and you just feel relieved, just so deeply relieved. And so anyway, that started my journey with Chinese medicine. And ultimately, I was diagnosed with autoimmune celiac disease. And so I was in, you know, that category of basically people that fall prey to various autoimmune diseases. Depending on where I was at on that continuum, I probably could have been diagnosed with lupus. There was various phases when I was really sick when I probably would have been diagnosed with autoimmune arthritis. But as soon as I found out about the celiac, I got off of gluten. I also found out that I'm technically what they call a poor detoxifier. My body doesn't convert folic acid to its usable form. So my nervous system was breaking down in my 20s, and which is why I couldn't sleep, which is why I didn't have the resilience that I was used to having. So anyhow, you know, through these, like you said, through bringing in these bits and pieces over time, and that's one thing too, is embracing the process that takes time, because this process is so beautiful, and each step of the process, we need different tools, and we end up attracting different people into our life. So bringing it current, I have a holistic practice outside Seattle, Washington. We have a nice, beautiful space with 14 different healthcare practitioners. And then I teach all over the United States, also in England and in Sri Lanka. Specifically, what I teach is how to use essential oils on Acupoints to treat different conditions. And then the masterclass that you saw the video for is really my deep love and my baby, in the sense that it's a course that's the product of everything that I've learned, everything that I've been through, all my life experience. And what I really believe is that education of the future, the primary focus of education should be on empowering people and enriching people, not on just giving information that needs to be regurgitated, because what good is that? Anyway, we all have phones, and we all have computers. We can look anything up.
Yeah.
You can look up so much about essential oils. It's overwhelming. But the way I work with oils is to teach a way of understanding how they move chi energy in your body based on the fragrance. And once you have some understanding of that, then you will know what oil to go to, depending on what stage, in this case we're talking about rosacea, but what stage it's at, what happens to be going on with it symptom-wise. And then asking yourself, for example, what's more serious is, do you really need to treat the self-worth issues right now, and the sense of loneliness from isolating because of shame or embarrassment about a flare-up? Or do you really need to treat the itching and the redness? Or even better, can we find certain fragrances or oils that are doing both at the same time? And as we become more skilled with working with them, you can do that. So, yeah, I think that's enough for the introduction.
That's a good introduction. Thank you. Oh God, I'd like to fly to Seattle and work with you. Do you do acupuncture as well? Because I noticed on your website that there's acupuncture. Is there? Do you do that?
Yes, most of the time I'm teaching now, but I do come to my clinic 1 week a month and I do private sessions.
And you're talking about the Acupoints and using the essential oils for Acupoints. Is that similar to acupuncture, but there's no needle? Can you speak about the Acupoint?
Yeah, good question. So it's, yes is the answer to your question. It's similar to acupuncture, but with no needles. So like I'm going to do something on myself right now. So I take a drop I'm using Mei Chong essential oil, which has a really kind of bright lemony fragrance. And if I had a lot of heat in my face right now, like redness, and you take it and put it on an Acupoint that's known here, it's triple heater. It's known to clear heat and redness out of the face.
Okay, I want to do it. Hold on. I don't have that oil. What can I use?
You could use lemongrass if you have that. Do you have?
No.
What do you have?
Lemon is downstairs. I have lime, orange, wild orange, grapefruit. I'm looking for something lemony.
Yeah, something lemony. The only thing is I wouldn't put lemon directly on your skin or lime directly on your skin. You could use grapefruit.
Okay, I'll use grapefruit and I'll take a note that to try it with lemon. Okay, so 1 drop.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put lemon directly on your skin. Lemon essential oil.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But you could use lemongrass.
Okay.
Lemongrass, yeah. So you take 1 drop and you hold it right on this Acupoint here.
So people listening on the podcast, you're going to have to go look at the video on YouTube, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a little groove right there below the knuckle.
Okay.
And you just hold lightly, so it's not acupressure. It's just literally a light touch. And so we hold the oils on the points instead of putting a needle on it. And what happens is you have the vibration and the intelligence of this plant essence going into this access point, the acupuncture point, and then activating the entire meridian. And not only is it activating the entire meridian energetically, but then you also have a whole cascade of neuroendocrine effects that are happening from the oil itself. And most of the time you'll feel like I can feel my body just taking it in and doing a little unwinding. I'm an excitable person. I tend to get excited about stuff like this. So I can feel it kind of clearing the excess excitement out of my system. And that excess excitement is the kind of stuff that leads us to burnout, when we're like going, doing, creates a lot of heat in the system. Yeah, me too. I thought you and I had some similarities when I listened to podcasts. And then you'll come to a certain point, it's usually somewhere between 1 and 3 minutes where it just feels like you just are, it's done. And it will often release your finger.
So how light is it? Because I think I was pressing too hard. Are you just lightly?
If you see my skin indent, that's too hard.
Okay.
It's almost like your fingers just barely making contact.
Okay, so I was pressing too hard.
Yeah, I mean, our tendency is to want to be physical with it, right? But it's actually energetic. There's one other thing I want to do with you, based on the oils you have there. And I wanted to share this with everybody because this is one of the single most profound therapeutic things that you can do with an oil, especially if you have health concerns that are on the autoimmune continuum, which rosacea is. Basically where the immune system is getting confused or becoming hyperregulatory. Any kind of dysregulatory condition, so thyroid dysregulation, mood dysregulation. Dysregulatory conditions are basically the category of conditions that are exponentially rising right now.
Okay.
So there's one thing that we can do to reset the right and left hemispheres of the brain, reset sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And I've actually seen this. I have a dear friend who's a neurofeedback doctor. And so we actually we've shown the neurofeedback information on a screen of brains before and after doing this. And so you'll actually see whole brain structures, that certain brain structures that are overfiring calm down, and certain brain structures that are underfiring step up.
Wow.
But not only will this reset your nervous system, but it opens up and relaxes the fascia in the body, and it opens up perspective. So every class I teach, I start with this.
Okay.
It opens me up, and it opens up everybody in the room to receive. And then I always tell people, if you're trying to set new habits, if you're striving to live in a different way, or if you're struggling with any kind of challenging health condition, just do this once or twice a day. So it's Bergamot Essential Oil. And if you don't have it there, you can use grapefruit again, because that's a nice that's a lemony oil.
Bergamot is coming. It's in the mail.
Okay. So the bergamot is amazing. One thing you just have to know about bergamot and a lot of the citrus oils is that many of them are photosensitizing.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't ever want to put them on your face, for example, unless they're really dilute. And you wouldn't want to put them on your body and then go out in direct sunlight. But what I've done is I just take my bergamot and I pour it off into another bottle. And then I add 75% carrier oil, like organic jojoba. And then if it's diluted like that, you won't ever have to worry about burning.
Okay.
So let's take a drop of the oil and put it on your pinky finger. 1 drop of oil on your pinky finger. Got it?
It can be any hand. It doesn't matter.
You're going to then divide it between the 2 pinkies, because we need to.
Okay.
And then you're going to put it in point Shenmen in the ear, which is this upper groove of the ear. Can you see?
Yes.
So it literally feels like your finger was made to fit in there. So you place it there, and again, it's light touch, and then just hold. And I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds just because I also want you to feel what's happening for yourself. And I'm going to continue to hold. I usually will hold for anywhere from 1 minute to 3 minutes. And what everybody describes the experience of this in a little different way, because we are unique beings. But almost everyone that will describe the net effect is that people will have a feeling of lightness, of being more relaxed and at ease. Some people will say they feel more centered and grounded, and other people will say they feel more uplifted. And that really is just based on how that person's energy tends to accumulate in their body. So doing this, especially when you do it with bergamot, it's very balancing. So overall, throughout the whole body, the physical body, the mental body, and the emotional body, there's going to be a balancing of energies. How's your experience?
My head felt heavy earlier because I was a little tired.
Mm-hmm.
And initially I felt as if there was like a movement inside of my head,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like things coming together and then dropping outside of my head and then more into my body, into my center, and hence my head feeling like there's more space and less heavy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you can see how if your head's clearer and less heavy, you would be able to perceive more of what's true.
Yeah.
So the discernment and the clarity would be increased. And then we're able to be more present with each other and present with ourselves.
Yes.
So all of the lemony oils have this sort of, let's say, if you remember like a hand movement for each fragrance category, the lemony oils go like this with energy. Kind of
Moving
like,
out.
yeah, like if you sliced a lemon open and you were looking at the inside, it's like that.
And for people on the podcast, like a sun, like rays of sun.
Like rays of sun, which is why the citrus oils tend to be some of the best that we know of for treating depression. But yeah, so just that simple thing, you can do it twice a day to reset everything. And
Wow.
I don't say this lightly because I'm a clinician and I do take claims like this seriously, but if you do it consistently with intentionality, it really will change your life. And especially I'm thinking for you, you work with individuals to help them become all that they can be as well. And I think sometimes when we're helping others, we bump up against what we all do to lesser or greater degrees, which is how we self-sabotage or put roadblocks in the way that don't have to be there, And instead of me trying to wrestle with clients to get them to not do it or to do something differently, I just say, look, just do this twice a day. You can put it by your toothbrush so you don't forget. Do this twice a day. And then what happens is that all those dietary suggestions that I was suggesting they do, or the lifestyle changes I was suggesting, all of a sudden they just start naturally doing them. Because things are really shifting in their experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to the first little exercise we did, and I want to ask you, initially you chose lemongrass.
Lemongrass or Mei Chong.
Okay, lemongrass or Mei Chong. Why did you choose that for this particular acupoint, and why also for the skin? Because you spoke about the inflammation and the redness. Why these oils? Why this point? Why does it move the energy on the cheeks?
Yeah. Well, part of rosacea is the dilation of the blood vessels and the capillaries, which creates the redness. And so from a Chinese medicine perspective, it's heat.
Yeah.
So even if you're a cold person, you have localized heat. And oftentimes people with rosacea, they'll say it becomes worse when they feel like social anxiety. Like if you were to meet someone for the first time and you have that kind of flush of heat that comes up when you're self-conscious, it tends to make rosacea worse, right?
Yeah.
So we want to tend to this heat issue. And this meridian right here is one of the main meridians that deals with temperature control and temperature regulation in the body. If we had to pair it with an organ, it doesn't really have an organ pair, but it is closely linked to the thyroid, but it's also closely linked to the fascial system and some immunoregulatory responses as well. So when I'm looking at regulating heat dysregulation like we see in rosacea, I think I'm going to do something on this channel. And if we do something in the upper, on the hand mirrors the face.
Okay.
So when we treat something on the hand, we're treating the face.
Okay.
And then the Mei Chong and the lemongrass are also both, I'm just going to smell the Mei Chong again. The Mei Chong kind of smells like, remember those candies, lemon heads? Did you have those in Quebec?
No.
Lemon heads or lemon drops? It's a kind of candy. Anyway, Meichong smells like that. So
Okay.
that lemony fragrance, remember it's going to move energy out like this.
Ah.
So then what we're doing is we're working on the meridian that deals with regulation of heat. We're putting the point on the hand, which mirrors the face to treat the face.
Mm.
And we're using a lemony fragrance oil that's going to disperse the excess heat.
Okay.
Out of the skin.
Yes. And because we don't want to put these oils directly on our face, using the points, parts of our body does the job.
Yeah. And certainly there's many oils that you can put on your face in dilution that are really good for rosacea. I'm happy to talk about, but I also just find this power of putting key oils on key points is it's miraculous. I mean, I witness miracles happen in my clinic I can accomplish in one session with a person what used to take me 6 sessions. And that's by doing the oils on the points, in addition to the acupuncture and the energy work and whatever I do.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so many questions.
Okay.
In terms of your training in Chinese medicine, what do you think is happening energy-wise in the cheeks, that the rosacea is there and that it stays there? Like, and often people ask me, oh, your skin looks great today. And I always say that rosacea is fluid, it moves. Mm-hmm. For me, I haven't cleared it up completely. I've met people that have cleared it up completely. They're also on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, so people will be able to see them. But I'm just wondering, what's happening in which organ? Can you connect the dots for us? And why is it so hard to disperse that heat and to get the clarity in the skin back?
Mm-hmm. It's a really good question. It's a complex question. I was just thinking the best way to answer it. So from a naturopathic perspective, the rosacea has a strong correlation to the small intestine and to intestinal inflammation.
Yeah.
So often we see before the rosacea appears, there's chronic, often low grade, and small intestinal inflammation, sometimes malabsorption, and then gut dysbiosis, which is the imbalance of the gut flora. And when the small intestine is off in those ways, the immune system is altered, and also our hormonal system is altered, as well as the neurochemical pathways that have to do with, for example, serotonin and dopamine, which is why I know in a lot of the research with rosacea, they'll say sometimes the rosacea symptoms aren't the worst symptom. The worst symptom is the depression, for example, or the low self-esteem and the spin-outs from that, which a lot of people say, well, that's because of how you look. But I actually think that there's a neuroendocrine component too that has to do with the small intestine, serotonin and dopamine. So from a Chinese medicine perspective and from a naturopathic perspective, you would want to tend to the small intestine and tend to what we call the middle warmer as well, which is your digestion. I would imagine, I haven't spoken with these people that have cured themselves of rosacea. I know people do, but probably a central part of what they did was really worked on their gut. Yeah. And really worked with food. And then, as you know, and we all know, like it's not like we can separate out physical digestion from mental and emotional digestion. I mean, we can.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And I mean, we can say, okay, here's my physical stomach, the food's going in my physical stomach. But we also have all of this material that happens during the day that can't be touched, like an apple, that we have to digest. And often we see people that end up with immune issues are sensitive individuals who have had interesting lives, probably with lots of challenges. And, we can only process what we can process when we have the tools to process it. So when we end up with an accumulation of stuff in the solar plexus chakra that hasn't been digested, it burdens the entire physical digestive system. And then that can eventually translate into different things like redness in the cheeks, congestion in the skin. For other people, it's, other type of immune issues. It could be their hair falling out. It could be joint dysfunctions. So the other thing that I'll add to it is that I really liked what you said in the beginning about it being it's a complex condition, which doesn't equal that we have to be paralyzed because we don't know what to do. But if we just acknowledge that it's complex, and then we ask ourselves, what's the entry point for me? What can I start with first? Then we start to unravel. Because what I have to remind myself, and what I remind people, is that this rosacea that you have now, it's not like it just came on overnight. It's been happening internally for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And then finally it manifests as a symptom you see on the outside. So then we unravel, and we work, and we tend to our bodies, and we listen to our guts, and we start to speak up for ourselves, and we start to advocate for ourselves. That has to be one of the most important things in treating any kind of condition like this, is standing up for yourself, advocating for yourself, starting to reside within your own power, because that's going to vent off heat in and of itself. The last thing I'll say, just because I think it's interesting from a Chinese medicine perspective with the small intestine, is, and this heat and why it doesn't clear, oftentimes you'll see rosacea, not always, but in people that are either fiery personalities or that can tend to be the opposite, that really shy, like extreme introvert type personalities that really shy away. And when they're face to face with another person, they get really flushed. But from a Chinese medicine perspective, those dynamics of more or less fire have to do with the small intestine, the heart, the pericardium, which is the sac around the heart, and the triple heater, which is in this channel. And those organs govern our boundaries with self and others. And so another big part of healing from rosacea is beginning to recalibrate your boundaries that have either been violated or breached, or you have been compromised over time. And so you begin to know really what your own boundaries are, and how they can be dynamic and fluid, how you can stand up for yourself, how you can say no, how you can listen to yourself. All that boundary dynamic is really powerful for rosacea. And what I've seen is that as people start to tend to those boundary dynamics, there's just overall less heat that comes into the face.
Yeah, and you can't set a boundary outside of yourself. You need to hold the energy within you. Yeah. Can you speak to why is it that oils have one drop of oil on one point? Like, what is it about the oil? What's happening in the body that not only can it have like a physical effect, but also an emotional effect? Can you break it down? Because people that are into oils, into holistic healing, they probably have a grasp of that. But for people that are brand new, they might think, how can an oil, a very pure oil, by the way, we're talking about quality, how can it have such a power over the physical and mental and emotional body?
Yeah, such a good question. And I do, I'm a scientist at heart as well. And I studied chemistry and biochemistry for a long time, 6 years. And I've been attracted to oil since I was young. And so there's a couple of different ways to look at it. And I like to put all the perspectives on the table, because they help to enrich our understanding of how they work. Most of the emphasis that you see on the information that you'll find on oils is on their biochemistry. But here's the catch. You're made up of the same stuff I'm made up of. I mean, on a biochemical level, you're literally made up of the same stuff that I'm made up of. but you're a different human being than I am. We have significant differences. We have tons of similarities, but significant differences. So it's the same with oils. You can break an oil down to its constituent parts, but breaking it down into its constituent parts doesn't explain everything that it does. So for example, Palmarosa, which is an oil I love for treating rosacea because it supports the small intestine. Palmarosa is really similar to geranium rose essential oil in chemical profile, super similar. But geranium rose has this amazing benefit of balancing the blood sugar and strengthening the pancreas and the liver. And Palmarosa doesn't do the same thing. I've tried over and over again. I keep thinking that the biochemistry is going to equate the same reaction, and it doesn't. So clearly just the biochemistry doesn't explain it all. So then if we bring into the picture the energetics of the oil, then I think that helps to account for explaining some of the other dynamics. So the energetics refers to both the energetic from the fragrance. So when you smell a lemony, it creates energy movement like this. When you smell a pungent oil like eucalyptus, it brings energy up to the head, which is why we like those oils in the morning. When you smell something like sweet and rooty like vetiver, it sinks your energy down. So the fragrances themselves, despite whatever their chemical profile is, they're going to move energy in certain ways based on the fragrance alone. Okay, so that's one aspect of the energetics. And then the other piece is the spirit of the plant. Okay, so let's take the spirit of you. You and I are made up of the same stuff biochemically, but we're also very different people. And if we spent a lot of time together and I got to know your inner nature, say we knew each other 15 years, and I really know, like, I begin to know what your inner soul gifts are, like those deep things that you came into this life with. And it's the same with the oils. They have an inner nature. They have an inner spirit. Basically an oil is the super consciousness of a plant. It's the soul of a plant in a bottle. And so then you have that level of the spiritual and soul aspects of a plant and the gifts that it's giving to us at this time, which also can't be explained by the biochemistry, and it can't even totally be explained by the fragrance dynamics, but it's yet another truth of the plant. And then the other aspect is that the oils, when we put them on the skin, we have a vibrational or a resonance effect. So when we hold an oil on a point, it's not so much that the oil's absorbing into the body as it is the vibration of the oil is activating the vibration of a point, and they make music. They make music, which propagates throughout the whole meridian. And when I teach pairing certain oils with certain points that are the source points, that'll literally go to that organ and just remind that organ how to work again. And that's the principle of resonance. And then we have the aspect of fragrance. You know, they're volatile oils. So as soon as you smell an oil, as soon as you take the lid off your bottle and the fragrance goes into the air, it's going in through the verumonasal organ. It's the only place in the human body where a nerve makes direct contact with the outside world. So nerves are making direct contact with the outside world. The fragrance molecules are hitting those nerves, and that's instantly translated into information that goes first to the limbic system of the brain, and then is propagated to other areas of the brain. And then within 60 seconds, you start to see a neuroendocrine response throughout the whole body just from smelling the oil. So it's amazing. So I think what I've come to is that if we can hold all of that in our hands, there's still much that we don't know, but that helps to give us a decent understanding that I think brings us into awe and reverence with the oils. It does for me anyway.
With the way that you speak about it, I have never heard someone speak about it in this way. So I feel so blessed to have you with me here today and sharing your wisdom, because I'm like a popcorn here. I'm getting insights, and I'm learning so much, and I love the depth that you're bringing about the essential oils. That's why I was so happy when you agreed to come on the podcast, because again, it kind of reminds us that the oils could be an invitation to a deeper exploration on healing, and that there are partners in this. Like, I feel like the way that you're describing it, being friends with my geranium and all my different oils, I feel that I have now partners in my healing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I was first attracted to the oils because initially my thinking was just help me get my skin back on track. But I had a decent part of my head, a big part of my thinking that was skeptical. But my intuition trusted, and I started to make some blends with Helichrysum and Frankincense, blue Tansy,
Great.
Probably geranium in there as well. Anyway, I've been exploring with different blends, diluting them in really good organic rose hip or argan, and started to incorporate it in my daily skincare. Feeling that benefit of that moment of me playing with the oils and the smell, but keeping an open mind as to what would happen. And one of the biggest things that happened, and I stopped paying attention to it, I wasn't watching every day to see any signs of changes, but 2 weeks after using those serums that I had made, I noticed that one of the biggest thing that's difficult for rosacea, especially when they're really aggravated, is that our skin is very dry. There's a thickness on it, and you can't even do microdermabrasion, which would help when you go to the esthetician and they could do the microdermabrasion just to breathe, but you can't, they won't do it on you because your skin is too red. The pores are all dilated and it's a mess, and nothing I would put on would work. And nothing I tried internally would work also, maybe because I hadn't done all the I hadn't really gotten down to the process of cleaning up my system enough. So omegas didn't work. I tried everything, right, to replenish. And then 2 weeks after, I realized that had been taken care of. It's gone. The pores are back to normal. The redness is a little better, but that dryness, so, because that helps me, because of course I'm going to put some makeup. I'm not going to walk around with rosacea. But now, like, my skin is lisse. It's all smooth. It's rejuvenated, rehydrated. And I never would have imagined that potent essential oils would do that. So that was a beautiful surprise. But again, the way that you talk about how they operate and work within us on a deep spiritual level, it makes me smile. It makes me feel like I found allies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I call them, our allies.
I just want to take a pause here and ask you, do you have a hard stop on the top of the hour?
Yeah, I can probably go 5 after I have a patient that'll be out there in the waiting room, but I'm good for going for another 5 minutes.
Okay, so we'll start to wrap it up then. Honestly, Tiffany, I've taken so much notes, and there's so many ideas that came to me of a masterclass, teaching a masterclass on this. And I'm very grateful that you were able to spend some time with us and share your wisdom. Can you, just before I let you go, can you tell us, do you have any programs that you're launching that people listening would be interested in working with you? So any programs, or how can people work with you in some capacity?
Yeah, I really wanted to share about the Healing Oil Collective, especially because I saw you get excited when I talked about the oils in that comprehensive way. What I love about before I say that, let me say that after, years and years of teaching people about the oils and how to use the oils therapeutically for themselves and others, what I saw is that often we get so excited about them because we feel how they work and they're amazing and they're sensorial and we love them. But say you take a seminar and you buy 15 oils, so you decide to go home and buy 15 oils, and then you're excited about them, but then you're like, oh wait, what was that for again? Or what did she say about this? And it can feel a little overwhelming to how to work with them. And so sometimes people just then don't work with them very much because they don't want to do harm and they can't remember exactly what we had talked about. That was my
No, sorry, my dog jumped because he's very scared of that sound.
Oh, that sound. Oh. So actually just, it's my messages. I want to quit. Okay. So the Healing Oil Collective was an answer to that. That helps us to go really deeply with one oil every month. So we have one oil per month. It's virtual. And the curriculum is really beautiful because it's both written, audio, and video. So it works with all different learning styles. And you have a main handout that has the history of the oil, where it comes from, some of the folklore around the oil, and then a summary of the mental and emotional issues of impacts of the oil. And then I have with each oil a whole skincare section. So specifically what it helps with skincare.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, cool, huh?
Yes.
And then I talk about the energetics of the oil, the fragrance dynamics, the inner nature of the oil, which is that soul essence of the oil. And then we look at the chakra power of the oil. You learn 4 quantum acupoints with each oil where it works very profoundly, good resonance.
Okay.
And this beautiful color diagram. So it doesn't matter if you're not an acupuncturist, you can do them, no problem. And there's a meditation with the oil. With the course, there's, I think, 8 lessons, all in bite-sized pieces that you can do. And it's just, it's awesome. It's so affordable and accessible, and is helping a lot of people, and it's bringing us into deep relationship with the oils, which is what I think that we need.
I have only one question about this. And why can we purchase the course and do it faster than 33 months?
Than 30. Oh yeah. So when you, I know that's my tendency too as a doer. When you register for it, basically the content's delivered each month. So you get one oil each month. So you don't have to be a part of it for 33 months, 33 oils. You can just go month by month if you want.
And can I get it all?
But what I like is some people just choose to purchase the whole thing.
Okay.
And have lifetime access to the whole thing. And yes, you can go at your own pace.
Okay, so that wouldn't be delivered per month. We would get the whole content?
I'm 99% certain that's correct, but I just need to check with my assistant about the technology on that.
That would be great, because I would jump to the oils that I want to learn about.
Okay.
Keep me posted on that. I am going to be linking how people can get their hands on that course in the show notes. Your website is tiffanycarole.com. I'm going to be linking that in the show notes as well. And from Tiffany's website, you guys can check out her different trainings. And I see that you have a section for retreats, and you can get also the link to if you guys want to visit the clinic, which I would jump in the plane and do that. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful. I'm sending you big hugs from Quebec, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you to everyone listening.